Video cassette recorders. You were much above 10 years old when 1970 hit. You probably definitely remember having one. They were widely popular in the 80s and the 90s. You probably recorded several of your favorite TV shows and you used to watch them. And then digital TV came in 2007 to 2009, and that pretty well put an end to the VCR as a video recording device. You switched everything over and went to recording to your hard drive on your computer or making DVDs on your own. The old VCR sits over in the corner gathering dust. The TV it recorded on video cassettes is sitting under a bed someplace or in a closet. And you probably thought about, well, I wonder if I could watch some of those again. And then you tried it in the VCR and the VCR didn't cooperate and you got discouraged and forgot all about them again. That's what this video is about. Bringing that old video cassette recorder back to life and being able to watch some of those old shows you would like to see again you recorded 20 plus years ago. The particular unit I'm using in this video is a combo unit from Toshiba, probably dating back to the early 2000s. VCRs definitely can be a little bit finicky. Sometimes they want to work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you just get a blue screen, sometimes you get a little bit of good old-fashioned snow from the analog picture days, maybe a little audio, and then you can't get anything to actually play what you can watch. Fear not, in this video we're going to go from the basic maintenance stage all the way to some minor VCR tuning. First thing you're going to want to get your hands on is some isopropyl alcohol, preferably the nearly pure stuff, and a few Q-tips. Now it's time for a little basic VCR surgery. You want to go ahead and get the top cover off, not disturbing anything else. Usually there are 3 screws or so on the back and maybe 2 on the sides. But you want to take all these out and then very carefully lift the top cover off. It usually pivots up from the front. Look around on the inside and you'll find the capstan roller and the pitch roller. You'll also find the 2 heads. There may be more than 2 in this case, but you want to locate all of those. You're going to want to thoroughly inspect the inside for any pieces of loose tape or any place in there where there's some noticeable tape left over, such as dark impressions or bits of videotape laying around. After you made general inspection, you're going to want to thoroughly mop down the heads and the roller and the capstan roller itself. Thoroughly inspect and clean the capstan area. The drive roller and the rubber wheel, of course, are your main concern here. If there's any trace of any buildup on either one of them, you want to make sure you get all that buildup off. It should be smooth completely as far as the roller itself, and the pin should not show any darkening on the little drive pin itself. When you're cleaning the rubber roller, you can pretty well expect to get a little bit of black off of that on your Q-tip. Just keep mopping it thoroughly till you get it completely clean. You shouldn't have any buildup left anywhere throughout the tape path system. Remember, this is the area where the tape is contacted and pulled through the VCR. If there's any slippage or distortion here, it's definitely going to affect your playback. Once you've cleaned everything thoroughly with the isopropyl alcohol, the next step, of course, is to let it all air dry. Then we'll proceed to make sure your VHS tape is in good shape. Once you've reached this point, ideally we'd have a VHS tape that has been professionally recorded, that is a bought movie that you paid for some time ago. Insert the tape into the VCR. It's probably going to go into play, so the minute it goes into play, go ahead and press stop. Watching the VHS tape from overhead, since we have the cover removed, you want to go ahead and rewind it all the way. After the rewind is complete, go ahead and press fast forward and fast forward the tape all the way through till it stops on the other end of the tape. Once you've reached that point, go ahead and rewind the tape all the way back to the start. Make sure it rewinds completely. Okay, here's a look at why we just did that fast forward rewind procedure. As you can see in these 2 shots, looking through the window, you can see the tape itself has a pretty rough surface. Here's what I'm shooting for. If you look down the tape, you should see a fairly smooth tape surface, indicating a little variation in the way the tape was taken up on the reel. As we'll see a little later on in the video, it doesn't take much variation here to create some problems with tracking. Hopefully everything has worked out as expected so far, so go ahead and put that tape back in the VCR, get all the cables hooked up, and try to play the tape and see what you get. If the tape plays smoothly and there are no further issues, looks like we finished up, at least for this section of the video. Now let's take a look at what I recommend doing if the tape didn't rewind or didn't fast forward all the way. Usually there's some kind of a binding in the tape. I've never actually discovered for sure where it is. I suspect the tape is getting bound someplace in the pass-through, or the tape locking mechanism is malfunctioning. Time to perform a little surgery on a VHS tape. There are 5 screws, as shown here. You want to go ahead and remove all 5 screws, and then make sure the label, if there is one, on the end of the tape is cut, and you can open the tape. Now, make sure that you don't open the tape with the screws facing you. Make sure you turn the tape over first before opening it. It should pull straight up, and you want to endeavor to pull it straight up so you don't break anything inside the tape. Take your time here. Make sure any end of tape labels have been cut or removed. Also, make sure you've taken out all 5 screws. They can be a little bit stubborn. Sometimes you need to use a little knife or maybe a small screwdriver blade just to get it started on both sides. Once you get it completely opened up, take a very careful look on the inside. Make sure nothing seems out of place. Of particular interest here at first is the tape locking mechanism. There are 2 little levers that are controlled by a little spring that actually lock the spools of the tape in place whenever the tape is not on the VCR. This prevents the tape from unspooling and creating problems, of course, with take-up or playback of the tape. While you have the tape apart, you want to take an extra special close look at the reels. You shouldn't have any tape on one. The other should be fully wound the other way, just like you're ready to play the tape. Make sure the tape is wound very tightly on the left reel. If you hold the locking mechanism open, as I've shown in this one, that you can rotate the tape from reel to reel without any real resistance. After you've completed all this, go ahead and put the tape back together and check it in the VCR. It now should rewind or fast forward smoothly like it should. Hopefully now your tape and your VCR are playing smoothly. If not, here's where we go from here to do a little bit of manual tracking adjustment. First thing we're going to need to do is make a little tool. In this case, this is a straight blade screwdriver with about a 1/16 of an inch ground out in the middle of it. Ideally, you want a blade of not more than 1/4 of an inch. It is possible to do it with a real thin screwdriver of, say, a blade tip of about 3/32 of an inch, but you run the risk of damaging the tape that's going to be passing close by. So I recommend you go ahead and make this little tool. What I'm going to be doing is making tracking adjustments off of one of these 2 arms. In this case, the one on the left or the one on the right, as you see in this photo. Ideally, you'd make these adjustments using a pre-recorded tape that's of very high quality. In this case, I'm using a very old tape from the kids. There are 3 types of distortion you're likely to encounter. In this case, this is the first, a little bit of distortion at the bottom of the screen. To clear this up, we're going to need to make an adjustment on the right arm. Put the VCR in play mode and make sure the tape is playing smoothly. In most cases, you want to make your adjustment as viewed clockwise from the top. In most cases, again, also it will mean that only a small turn will actually clear up the distortion at the bottom. Don't get carried away here making adjustments. Ideally, it's probably going to be less than a half a turn that'll correct the problem. Since the adjustment is so fine, now you can see how come it made so much difference. The tape should be wound uniformly smoothly. This is the second, and you can hear the third type of interference and adjustment you need to make. In this case, what you can see, of course, is a rolling effect, somewhat similar to the old analog TVs. What you can't hear is somewhat of a buzzing noise, and this usually goes with or just after the rolling effect. In both cases, you want to make sure the adjustment you make is just barely enough to clear the effect out. Don't over adjust. In this case, the adjustment is made as before, clockwise right, viewed from the top. Again, minimum adjustment to clear the effect out. Usually the rolling effect will disappear first and there may be the buzzing noise afterwards. You want to just barely adjust it till the buzzing noise just clears. Hopefully all this has left you with a perfectly functioning VCR. Now you can sit back and watch that old movie or old TV show you haven't seen in years and enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Hope you found this useful. If you did, how about giving me a like and consider subscribing. I just might have something else coming down here real soon you're going to want to see. Take care, you guys. We'll catch you on the next video.